heart for youth. And that, Paul, I mean, we're already richly blessed. Even if there were been a couple people coming in here, we know that they would have been here because their hearts are full for youth that are struggling, or youth that they know of, and maybe you came in looking for some encouragement, some direction, some help, some tools. So just imagine what that does for us, because we're out there, we get to be out there in the community, networking with the greater community every day, schools, courts, juvenile centers, and that's where we live, and for the most part. And so to see this much love and care and concern for youth is overwhelming for us. So what I want you to do is begin, like even on the back of this best practices, just start writing the names of those youth that God is really putting on your heart. Like, I know you came already because you have names of youth that you're wanting to minister to. But just as we go through our time together, and very soon Paul's going to go, Steve, be quiet. We've got other things we need to get to. And then we'll need to get to those. But I just want to know, before we pray, I believe that God is putting some of the names of these. Just put a first name. If you want, you know who they are. God's going to bring them to mind. These are the people that we really believe that you not only have a heart for, but that you really want to see come to know Jesus. People that you know need specific help. And our prayer is that as we spend our time together today, you will leave here with just feeling better equipped, encouraged, and again, maybe have some tools to really better address, help, minister to these youth. Let me pray. Father, thank you for our time today. Thank you for what we just heard about keep the lower lights burning. Father, that we would recognize what I take from that, for me personally, Father, is that, Father, help us to not overlook, with those lower lights, not overlook anybody. And so, Father, just now during our time together, help us, Father, by your Spirit to focus on a specific call in our hearts and lives as Christians, as children of yours, and then to think specifically about those who you want us to take this great message of hope to that we just heard about. In the name of Jesus. Amen. All right. All right, so we just had to give our permission to some video footage and some microphones and all of that. So that's not really, obviously, that's not really our deal. Like, we love to just hang out with people. Paul and I were at Mia Rancho way too late last night with a 18-year-old boy that doesn't really have a family, biological family. We have been family to him for many, many years. And you might be able to find him on our display board somewhere. I'm not going to tell you where. But we got to celebrate his 18th birthday with him at Mia Rancho last night. And Paul ate way too much. Actually, it was late tea. It was a good time. All right. So as you're doing that this morning, writing down the names of those people, this is the thing that again, just quickly, God has called us to. I'm going to quickly give you a little bit of background on me for, what do we say, 2 minutes, Paul, right? And then Paul's going to give you a little bit of background on him so that as you hear us, you will recognize that we are not so different from you. We are not so different from our calling, God's calling in our lives and hearts, and God's calling you to the ministries that you're involved in. And as we just heard from the brother, that's your neighbor, that's your family, that's your neighbor, and then you go up from there. That's what the Bible says. And so I grew up, I have to be careful. I have to read through all of my notes now more carefully because my oldest brother Tim, is here in the back. And so I'm going to make sure that everything is he might tell our mom, and she might still scold me a little, pull me by the ear. She's 91 and she still gets to do that. But I grew up in Boston, just down the road, in a great Baptist church growing up. Did not really commit my life to following Jesus with my whole heart until I was 17. But along the way, what I recognized was that, and I think it's because of the way God wires us, it's the way He makes us. We're all unique, right?
and have specific and purposeful and intentional calls on our lives to minister with the way that God made us. We're supposed to use those gifts and talents in a very specific way. I started caring for at-risk children and youth and peers when I was coming up through the grades in school and high school. And I just remember I was kind of amen, he was a rebellious soul. I was a tough nut, rebellious soul, chip on the shoulder, but I do remember always looking for those people off in the corner, kind of picked on, singled out, teased, bullied, and man, I tell you, I was like, this farm boy's going to step right up between them and those people, and I'm going to make things. And so yeah, it didn't work out all that great all the time, but I just remember that in my heart, even before I knew Jesus, personally, I really had a heart for at-risk youth. So and then as time went on, ended up in Oak Hills Christian College, and met and married my wife. We'll be celebrating 43 years of marriage here in another month or so. And so, but we went back just kind of right into youth work, into the church. So I spent my first 10 years in Evangelical Free Church Ministry church, and I just saw the same thing happening again. I was more predisposed, like my greater concern was, like if these kids were doing okay and had pretty good families and seemed to be all right, I was always thinking about that one that was really like at another level, struggling, somehow just not connecting, socially struggling. And so that was my youth experience. Came back to, married a couple of children, came back to Bemidji to finish up some schooling and other things, and realized, no, I want to get into working with at-risk children and youth and families. Worked with Youth for Christ for 3 years, from right across the street from where Carl hangs out now, there at the high school, at the Youth for Christ building back in the day. Mainstream high school kids, campus life programs, you're familiar with that. That's kind of what I did. Kind of got tired of the electric chair, talking with Joey and others earlier. Kind of got tired of, encouraging kids to eat goldfish to get them to come out to hear about Jesus. I just had an idea that I realized that almost every one of the youth that were coming over to visit with us were looking for Jesus. You hear what I'm saying? And so I got tired of the entertainment aspect. So that's just me. But then I saw this guy in the school and around the community, and all he was doing was loving on kids and families 24/7. And all of those were like determined by the community as the most at risk, by law enforcement and by the schools and by the courts. So that's where I've been. Now joined Timber Bay in 1984, 87 became the director, and I've been the director of this ministry to at-risk children and youth now since 1987. So really what that means is I'm old. But I really love what I do. And I still get to be in the schools and I'm involved doing that. Paul?
He makes the old comment, but at the same time, we sit at the table at the lunchroom and have girls come up and they'll sit and be talking to us, and one of them looked at us and goes, so, which one of you is older? He did that, and then I promptly told her that he has a son a year younger than I am. I'm Paul Bishop. Steve said, I am not from here. As I'll say y'all here in a second. You'll go, yeah, he's not. I'm from North Carolina. And my story and Steve's, as far as our young childhood, outside of the farm thing, we're pretty similar. Parents that love the Lord, came up in a Christian home. Could not have asked for better parents, and they did everything that they could in my young life to instill that in me. Made a profession of faith at a young age, and it's been amazing in that even at a very young age I understood that I was a sinner. I did things that God didn't like, and because I did things that God didn't like, we weren't okay. And then I came to understand what it was that Jesus had done on the cross. I knew that he had died for me, and I knew that because of that, I would be in heaven with him one day. I knew that as a young child, and I'm so thankful that I never doubted that. Shortly after that, though, a lot of stuff in my life changed. And that's where Steve and my stories kind of, they do really separate there. I lost my dad at a young age, and I was one of those kids that in the very beginning of my life would not have been on that list that Steve had you guys write down. I would not have, I'd have been one of those kids that you'd have looked at my parents, you'd looked at me, and you'd have said, no, he's good, we don't have to worry about him. And I was categorized and put on in that list. And it took a really long time for people to realize that I was moving further and further away. And I spent many years angry with God and pushing Him away and fighting with Him. And God's grace is tremendous.
Amen.
It really is. And then as we started looking, my wife and I, through a long series of events we're not going to get into, started looking, where do you want us, Lord? And He led us to northern Wisconsin. We spent a couple of years there and realized our time there was drawing to an end and said, all right, where do we go? And we ended up here in Timber Bay in Bemidji. We found the organization, we looked at the map. I'd been to Minnesota 2 times in my life. And we were joking, and we have Timber Bay areas around the cities, and then there's Bemidji. And I said, hey, because of my past, my background, things like that, I can't get into Canada. They said, we don't need you. And okay, I looked and said, hey, look, that's as far as I can go. That's the end of the earth for us. You know that's where God's going to send us. And yeah, here we are.
And so about that time, we spent, his wife Elizabeth and my wife Bonnie said that we spent about 1,000 hours together or more the first year that Paul moved here. It was more like, let me get you acquainted with the community, the people that I know, the people we network with, the families, really how it is that we go about the, yeah, raise your hand if you still didn't get a handout. You know what, if you want an extra, now we know that we have at least a couple more. So one of the things that we want to just encourage you to consider is that, you know, we got our backgrounds. You have your backgrounds. Maybe you are already really entrenched, invested in working with troubled or at-risk or difficult children and families. And so, again, we're encouraged by that. But let me just say that we're going to give you this best practices information. We're going to run through that pretty much as fast as we can. What we want to do is we want to leave room at the end for, we believe that you probably showed up with some questions about, you know, stuff that's going on in your lives, with some of the families, the children, families, youth that you're serving. We don't have all the answers, but we have about, 50 years of experience between us working with at-risk youth, so we might have some help that we can give you. So let's look at the best practices piece, and Paul and I are just going to kind of just bounce off each other as we go through those. Again, any material, there's a sign up over on the table, but any material that you see, this is right out of our staff training manual. We're going to make that available to you guys. If there's more information that you'd like to receive from us regarding our specific training, please sign up on the sign-up sheet over there. One of the titles, I was working on title, what is it? How is it that we're seen by the community? Yes, we represent Timber Bay, but we are an arm of the church, and those two are probably synonymous. We're not seen by the kids as having, like being counselors or being pastors or being directors or any of that. I mean, we really are being seen. I guess the title that we were kind of given from our director, who had the vision in 1970 to start this ministry all over the state, was professional friends. And so there are a lot of other names that can be given, but we just want them, we want the youth especially to see us as invested, caring, long-term friends and mentors to them. All right, number one, Paul's going to grab that one, and then we're going to, so just jot down some questions or notes along the way, but let's just go through this best practices, and then we'll have questions at the end.
And I'm not going to go through and read this. We'll never make it through this in the time that we have if we go through and just read it all. You've got the handout. You can read it for yourself and go through it. We just hit the highlights on it. It's talking here about the emotional boundaries and walls, and we all have them. we all have them. We use them in our day-to-day life and our interaction with each other. For a lot of the kids that we work with, these are walls that they have thrown up because it's the only way that they have to survive. And these kids that are coming to mind for you as well, these are walls that they've put up when everything else in the world hurts. Everything is hurting them, and they throw up these walls, and they're not necessarily healthy walls. Sometimes they can be very self-destructive walls that they throw up. But the part to it that we have to be careful of, because we're not professional counselors, we're not that, we need to be very careful when those walls start coming down. We don't want to go and look at something that we know isn't really healthy for them and just yank it down and take that safety net from them, because they've got to go home. They have to go back into that environment that they're dealing with. They have to go back into the school environment, the home environment, their peer groups. And if we pull all of that away from them and then send them back in, we're setting them up to get hurt. The kids, as they get to know you, as they get to trust you, as they learn that you care about them and the advice that you're giving them, they will bring the walls down on their own. They will bring them down, they will let you in, and your relationship at that point, because that level of trust has been built, the relationship will be that much stronger, and you'll be able to speak to them, and speak to them instead of at them. And it makes a huge difference when it comes to them actually starting to put healthy boundaries and walls back up, because they need someone to help them to learn how to do that and how to build them.
You know, the surveys have gone on for years. I was chaired an effort in the community called Healthy Community, Healthy Kids, an initiative put out by Search Institute a number of years, around for many years. They took surveys every couple of years, and the number one thing that they continued to find whenever they surveyed youth, middle school to high school, the number one concern by youth was safety. So, and think about now where we are today related to safety. So just imagine your environment. Think about your conversations and with the people that God is bringing into your lives, and the concern about safety. So regardless of the manipulations, the skills that they have, survival skills that they have, their greatest concern is still safety related. So, and again, just remember that trust with you is established over time. It's not something that magically happens in a 1-hour visit with a youth. So that's over time. The second point there, again, basically, it gives you actually some reference there of some research that you can do on your own. But really what that's saying is that there are also boundaries. Those of you that are really in full-time ministry, you recognize that you also at times need to tap out. The lines need to be drawn, like you're heavily invested. When your heart is called to something, and that's really where you're spending your time, and I pray that that's so, because you're going to be miserable until you do that. You need to be in that place, like I said earlier, the way God created and designed you. And if that keeps coming back to you, then move into that area of ministry and service, whatever it is in the community, helping children, families, whatever it might be. But just recognize that second point is really talking about your own boundaries. And again, I believe that again, you are Holy Spirit driven and led, and you need to be hypersensitive to the Holy Spirit's leading there when you need to pull away. Time with spouse, time with family, time with friends and whatever. We are, like even this last week, and we'll visit with you personally after if you have questions, we are on call 24/7 to a lot of children and families in the community. Some of them are churched, the majority of them aren't. But I also have a number one responsibility. My relationship with God is number one. My relationship with my wife is number two. And then my neighbors is number three. So I haven't even got to Timber Bay Ministry yet. So I need to make sure that those parts of my life, those priorities, are in order. And so I press in when I can, and that's the way I'm going to stay healthy. That's the way you're going to stay healthy, is recognizing those boundaries. So it does, like I said, have some opportunity there for you look up some information there by Andrew Rood. Some of the information, again, you'll see throughout the training here. We've utilized or benefited from other trainings.
Jumping down a couple to the friendship. One thing that we, as adults, we are probably all guilty of when we meet a teenager, a young kid, we want them to like us. We want them to like us right away, and we want to make a connection. And we want to walk away from that relationship, that meeting, feeling like we made a bond. Feeling like this kid knows that I care about him, and yeah, we're going to be good. Don't expect that when you're working with kids that are struggling with issues. Don't expect to get together with them in one meeting, in one time, and build this great friendship. Don't even expect it if you take the kids away for camp for a weekend. A week, yeah, you may start to develop some roots there. You may. But it does take time. It's more important to you in your relationship with the kid that you interact with them in the way that you feel the Lord is leading you to. As you go through that process and you continue to keep your boundaries healthy, you continue to have that interaction with them, that friendship will develop. It will develop in time. And if you develop your friendship based on that, when you do get into the rough stuff later and they are mad at you and they are pushing away from you and they're trying to alienate you from their circle, you'll have a friendship that's actually strong enough that you can continue to lean into.
Yeah, so we're, again, those points, those bullets on 3, 4, and 5 are really all referring to the important issue of trust. Trust broken. Again, this is not so difficult, for us as adults. All of the meaningful relationships that we have are built on trust. Do you agree? So when trust is broken, we use the word earned a lot. It's kind of earned back. And so that's over time. And so, man, like when a youth comes to us and he's already, like Paul spent a couple trips to the school this week with IEP, individual education plans, sitting in for parents, or non-represented parents, and helping give direction and make decisions for youth. That child, that youth is in trouble. But he wants to know when we're sitting in that room that yes, he needs to make some corrections and set some new direction in his life, but he wants to know if we trust him. I think he already knows that we care about him because we're there, but do we trust him? So when he says, I think I'm ready to start moving in the right direction, are you going to come with? Do you trust me enough? Are you invested? Or do you see me as a loser? Or are you still holding this thing against me? Those are very important. We're the ones, right, who, like God through Jesus, are ready to give the second chance, right? Isn't that that's our role? So when we have the opportunity with this trust thing, be ready to step back into that relationship. You've done the confronting, again, and that to me, I've thought a lot about that in the last few months especially. We aren't necessarily the best at confronting in love, but that is a strong teaching scripturally. When you love someone deeply, you will confront when you need to. And it just needs to be out of a heart of love. And so, I remember years ago, over the course of the 35 years with Timber Bay especially, we've had to ask children, Paul's had to do this too. It's not an easy thing to do. We've had to ask, Carl knows all about this. Carl's responsible for Boys and Girls Club downtown, does a great job. It's difficult for us to have to ask a child to step out of a group setting or to have to stay away from this thing that they look forward to every week. But guess what? Their behavior, their decision to behave the way they have has eliminated from that. Write this down if you don't recognize this. When they make a decision, set the rules, don't set very many, but set the rules, and then hold them. And number one would certainly be respect and go down the line. But when by their behavior, they have made a decision to go against those rules, they're the ones that have asked to leave. You have not asked them to leave. Get the difference? You're not kicking them out. Did you understand the rules? Do you understand what we meant about being disrespectful, language, some of the things of behavior? Yes. You realize that your decision to behave that way, or act that way, or talk that way has pulled you out of group, has eliminated you from this setting for a while. And eventually they get it. It has been 100% the case where that child, as soon as they can come back, are waiting at the door ready to come back. When can I come back? When can I come back? When can I come back? That's a lot like discipline. Discipline is from God. It is a godly practice. And when you discipline in an orderly, in a godly way, the response is favorable in people, and youth especially. You know, Steve, when can I come back? You know, Paul just said it a while ago. And one of the other things I might add to that point, whenever a child makes a decision to behave inappropriately, has taken themselves out of group, what do they receive? What do they receive? So they get in trouble.
This is the point where he sets me up to make sure I've been paying attention all this time. They get more attention. They don't get less. If you have to take a kid, if you've got a kid that's part of your youth group, he's part of your after-school program, it's something like that, and he is not able to interact in a positive manner, the absolute worst thing that you can do if you've told this kid that you care about him, if you've told this kid that you love him, is tell him, hey, because of your behavior, you're not going to be able to be a part of this, so go over there. And then you walk the other direction. You just did the same thing to that kid that everyone else in his life has done to him. You're a screw up, and I don't have time to deal with you. Go sit in the corner. Any chance you had of a relationship with that kid, if you don't go back and apologize to him, it's gone. Because you just treated him like everyone else in his life. You come alongside the kid, he recognizes what he's done wrong. You tell him there are consequences to the actions. He realizes it. And then you tell him, hey, do you want to do something about this? You don't tell him, you ask him, do you want to do something about this? And if he says yes, if she says yes, okay, well, what do we need to do? How do we need to do that? Let them come up with a plan. They know what they did wrong. They already know. And they don't need us to tell them everything. Let them make the choices, let them come up with a plan. And then say, okay, let's do that. And you make it in us, not a you. And you give them the support that they need. And sometimes that's really hard. Sometimes it is really hard because it's more time from us. It's more time that we have to go and we have to invest in them. But it's vital to that kid.
So groups, as you recognize, groups are always easier. You can put a lot more people in a room, and you can say, I've worked with 20 kids this week. But each of those 20 youth, children, need individual attention. So just know that the critical nature of what we do through Timber Bay is not group stuff. We're not numbers oriented. Maybe you guys, some of you are being encouraged to be numbers driven. That will never encourage the heart of children or youth. They want to know that you just care about them. So if they came in all by themselves, you would focus your full attention just on them. Top of the next page quickly, very important, if you've not done any work with Search Institute, you might want to research that a little bit, but top of the second page, it's one of my favorite lines is, it's not the presence of negatives, but the absence of positives that causes teens to not succeed. So just know that, man, like, you know, just the negatives are they're already overwhelmed with negatives. Right? And that's probably not necessarily specific to any one family or one part of town or across the tracks or in a business or race. They're all children in school, middle school and high school. If they're gifted kids, guess what? They have more to do. So they're overwhelmed already, and a lot of it is just pressure, pressure, pressure. And so we want to make sure that we are bringing positives into their world. Number 6.
We've already run through number 6, just in process of talking, but we'll run back through it again. They call it building into the kid's life. And building into the kid's life really comes down in a nutshell to being willing to stay. Being willing to stick around and reinforce those positive pieces. Cause them to recognize the negative behavior and then build them up at the same time. helps them to understand the things that are coming alongside it.
Yeah, one of the things we, Paul and I were joking about as we were going over this material is it's kind of like the Paul principle in, Paul's epistles. Like, remember the way he starts? Oh man, greet so-and-so and what a wonderful group you are, and man, I miss you guys, and man, I love you guys. And then, what's the next thing? Here comes this exhortation. Here comes this, excuse me, but this butt kicking. I mean, and it's calling people out by name. And so yeah, I mean, this Oreo method is kind of like, the positive reinforcement, but still that same, like, I love you, the tough love part, but just always with the positive reinforcement. And so, moving on to 7. So, this issue of confidentiality, you guys, a lot of you guys, maybe you're already by some of your expressions, I can tell that some of you had struggled with issues of confidentiality. You cannot promise a youth, you cannot promise a youth you are not going to tell anybody if they come and tell you something. Oh, you're going to be their best buddy as an adult. They can always come and talk to you, and it's secret, and you're not going to, no, right? So, look at the information, confidentiality. It's critical that you recognize the importance of confidentiality. But mandated reporting is also a part of this teaching. What I've been saying to children and youth for 40 years is that I love you, I care about you, I want to help you, but if you're going to share with me information, and so you may say, well, Steve, they're not going to tell you that. They have that prerogative. They can choose to not keep on telling me. But I'm not going to pull it out of them. I'm not going to manipulate. I'm not going to make that happen. But I'm going to say, when we're visiting, I believe that there's information out of love and care and concern for you, your safety, your health, something that I need to address with some people in the community that love and care and help and serve, and that's what they do, and they're really good at it. I am going to pass this information on to them because I love you. So don't be the person that says, oh, you can come talk to me, and I promise I won't tell anybody. Don't do that. And again, any training that we can help